Welcome back if this is the second time you've joined us today. So this is Geoscience BC 2018 Minerals RFP webinar, July 31st, 2018. And had a little bit of an issue this morning. I'm reminded of Murphy's Law, where if at first you don't succeed, destroy all evidence and start again. So welcome to Geoscience BC's first ever webinar. How it's going to work today, we're going to try to wrap this up in less than 3/4 of an hour. I'm going to speak for about 20 minutes on those first 3 bullets there, who we are, a brief explanation of the 6 RFPs that we have out currently, and a summary of the evaluation criteria that we will use in evaluating your proposals. And then it's your chance to provide us with some questions that you might have to date, and a little bit of a back and forth for the tail end of the session today. During this particular webinar, you could send your questions through to the email shown on the screen here. That's appleby with a Y at geosciencebc.com. And just a reminder, that's only for the webinar. For your more generalized questions with regard to the RFP, it's still the RFP coordinator, Krista Pellet at geosciencebc.com. So in the room today here in Vancouver, there are 4 of us. Myself, Bruce Madu, the Vice President of Minerals and Mining for Geoscience BC. On my left, which you can't see, and we can't see you, so is Krista Pellet, Project Coordinator, and helping out today, Richard Truman, our Director of External Relations, who's now doing sound checks to make sure I'm sounding okay, and he's nodding, so I am broadcasting live on Twitter and YouTube. And also Candace Appleby, Communications Coordinator, and she'll be the recipient of any questions that you might have. Her email appears on the footer of every particular slide, so that you have it at your disposal as you want to send questions through to us, and we'll get to those at the end of today's presentation. So just a little bit about Geoscience BC for those of you out there that might not be familiar with us or who are just getting to know us, and we are just getting to know you. Simply put, we're a nonprofit society. That's our legal status, and we try to promote, fund, and support public geoscience research in British Columbia. Our work is complementary and augments the 2 other geoscience agencies in our province, particularly the BC Geological Survey and the Geological Survey of Canada. We've been around since around 2005. We've worked with over 75 partners in that 13-year span. As a nonprofit society, all our data and reports are publicly available. That includes 180 projects to date, and the primary users are resource agency, resource sector, academia, communities, Indigenous groups, and governments. Well, how did we arrive here today? It started over the winter of 2017-2018 with an in-depth engagement consultation process that helped us develop our strategic plan that will guide our activities from 2018 to 2022. Within that is a vision for Geoscience BC to be a leading partner, provider of credible and relevant earth science and data in British Columbia. Our mission is to generate and publicly share high-quality, unbiased earth science and data that improves our collective level of geoscience knowledge, informs responsible natural resource development and investment decisions, catalyzes socioeconomic opportunities, and stimulates innovation in geoscience technologies. That strategic plan is available on our website, geosciencebc.com. So a little bit of an overview of the RFP process. Well, as I just said, the process is certainly informed by our Geoscience BC strategic plan. I would strongly recommend that you review this plan before starting your application. The process is open to anyone who can submit a proposal, but it must concern work in British Columbia. If you've put proposals in before to Geoscience BC, or even have some that are currently in the system, you can resubmit them as part of this RFP process. They must adhere to the formatting with regard to the proposal templates, and if you can, direct them to the relevant RFP. This series of RFPs relates to the minerals strategic focus within our strategic plan. It does not refer to energy, or the water, with the exception of one particular RFP 2018-04, which is water oriented. On our website, each RFP has its own web page, including an RFP document, a proposal template, and budget template. We do demand that in the spirit of fairness, any participant in projects will be required to agree not to acquire tenures or an interest within the project area until 6 months after all project data is made public by Geoscience BC. We capture that in the project agreement stage, and it provides the organization with the comfort to know that all people have a fair opportunity to benefit from our data and information. The submission deadline is hard. All proposals must be in by October 1st, 2018, at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. We would like you to email your notification of an intent to submit a proposal to the RFP coordinator here in Vancouver. The reason we want this is to ensure that your submission is a smooth process, that if you're going to send something fairly late in the process, we expect it and we can handle it as it comes in. This is pretty important when sometimes we have larger proposals with maybe digital files associated with them. Make sure that you record your intention in the process, and we can make sure that we get your application in it. Similarly, if you want, you can sign up to Geoscience BC's RFP email update page on the RFP page of our website. And by doing that, we'll send out any process notifications that are relevant, questions and answers that might be relevant to the RFP that you're interested in. The review process is this. The proposals will be reviewed by a technical advisory committee. Geoscience BC has 3 of them, who will make recommendations to the board of directors. We expect this review to be complete by December 2018. Earliest start date for a project is April 1st, 2019. And you can see if the review process completes in December, that gives us about 3 months in which to put together proposal agreements. That's quite tight, because if we get a fair number of proposals that are going to become projects, it will be very busy for our office here. We hope that April 1st, 2019 is early enough for most projects, and on a project-by-project basis, if some need to be out a little bit earlier, we will try to work with you on that. And for those that can be a little bit later, we will work with you on that as well. But get your mind around April 1st, 2019. Proposal details must be valid until March 31st, 2019, and that's particularly important when it comes to budgets and milestones and timeframes. If in fact we get into April of next year, then we may be forced to renegotiate milestones, timeframes, as well as any budgetary matters. All right, so looking specifically at the 6 RFP topics we have out right now, RFP 2018-01 is called Exploring the Big Gap in Copper Gold Deposits of BC's Central Interior. This has been a favorite topic of discussion within Geoscience BC and our advisory committees for years now, because there is an apparent gap in copper gold deposits between the Mount Polley and the Mount Milligan mine. The reason for that is heavier overburden, fluvial materials, glacial materials that seem to obscure a good look at the underlying bedrock geology. So the way, in quotes there, you can see the essence of the RFP, and that is, if you've been thinking about how to discover deeply buried mineralized systems in central BC's Quesnel geological terrain between the Mount Polley and Mount Milligan mine, this RFP might be for you. This is the only RFP to include a geographical constraint, and it covers a portion of the Quesnel terrain in the Prince George region. If your project ideas are outside this area, then you might be best direct your efforts to another RFP. So what we're thinking about for this particular RFP is ideas around remote sensing technologies capable of estimating bedrock depth, deep geochemical or biogeochemical exploration techniques, interpretations of existing geophysical data, compilations of multidisciplinary data to generate new exploration concepts, or superficial geology studies. Those are just suggestions that we're thinking about. If you have ideas that are of this spirit that will help us better discover deeply buried mineralized systems in this particular part of BC, we sure would like to hear from you. The second RFP is very broad, but it's one that I think is always generates great proposals. It's called New Tools for Discovery, RFP 2018-02. And it's quite broadly stated to be searching for proposals that develop or provide new tools for mineral and coal discovery in British Columbia. And it may include things such as advancing a technique for the detection of deposits, creating new understandings of the geological conditions and processes that lead to viable deposits, or proposals that make innovative use of existing data where development potential could be better defined. So if you've got some new tools in mind that you think might help explorers make discoveries, that could include, but are not limited to, again, things such as a technique or technology, academic or field study, new mapping, other outputs that lessen the challenges of locating buried mineralization, or proposals that include novel approaches to technology or evaluating new media. These are encouraged. So you can see this is a pretty broad category, but it always gets us some fascinating things. So it could be that you have a new tool for discovery that could fit in the Prince George area specifically, then I'd encourage you to apply for that RFP. Or if it's outside the Prince George area, then we'd like to hear from you. The third RFP is one that I think everyone's been reading about a lot, and that's unlocking the value from big data. We call it Unlocking Value, a smarter look at big data. RFP 2018-03 states, if you are a data expert researching the application of machine learning techniques or compile data sets to add value, identify opportunities, or foster innovation in the mineral or coal sector, we are interested in your project ideas. Again, quite a broad category. It could be anything from mineral exploration through to the mining process and through to the reclamation. And it's a good reflection of the new strategic plan of Geoscience BC, which is looking at the full life cycle of a mine, from discovery through to mining, through to site closure and reclamation. So proposals in this category may include, but are not limited to, a mine's operational data from blast holes to predict grade, model water balance changes at mines and their host watersheds, and based on climate trend scenarios. Similarly, it could explore relationships amongst exploration, operations, and environmental data. Or thirdly, proposals that, and thirdly, a point here would be that proposals should focus on providing practical outcomes that can be put to use by the communities that Geoscience BC serves. So big data, a very broad category, very topical, and if you have ideas that you'd like us to think about in terms of a proposal, love to hear from you. The fourth RFP, 2018-04, is called Understanding Water. So at the start, I mentioned that this particular RFP was primarily focused on the minerals and mining part of Geoscience BC, or our minerals focus, as it's stated in our strategic plan, but does include a focus or an RFP that focuses on water as well. This is, again, a new area for Geoscience BC on the minerals side. We've been very active with water on the energy side. We think it's time that Geoscience BC gets involved in water on the mineral side as well. So this RFP is seeking proposals that generate regional to provincial scale understandings of water in support of effective stewardship and predictable impacts of exploration and mine activities. The bullet there states quite what I just said. RFP crosses Geoscience BC's mineral and water focus area. So if you are a person with interest in water, you might consider a proposal such as the generation of new data at a regional to provincial scale that supports water stewardship, initiatives that share sector-held data and make it accessible along publicly held data. So that's the democratization of all the data that exists and to make it more publicly available. You might consider projects that add value to existing public data to make it more comprehensive or useful. This could be something such as a presentation software or a platform that allows people to easily use and interpret water data. You might look at integrating Indigenous traditional knowledge into water stewardship. Similarly, you might look at natural variations of water through time as a consequence of the physical environment it passes over and what variations may have resulted from human activity. So water is a challenging area for us because there are so many perspectives on water. It affects all British Columbians in one way or the other. And we're really excited to see what you might have for proposals in this particular intake. The fifth RFP, 2018-05, is also a reflection of the new strategic direction for Geoscience BC. Here, we're looking for proposals with regard to competitive, responsible mines for the future of the province. Here's the challenge. British Columbia mines are facing lower grades, more complex, deep deposits. Geoscience BC is seeking project proposals that foster efficient extraction of deposits, more sustainable practice, and effective site stabilization to enhance the competitiveness of BC's mineral and coal sector. So once again, you can see this is an expansion on what Geoscience BC traditionally has done through to the full life cycle of a mine operation from exploration, exploitation, or mining through to site closure. So all sorts of ideas that you might have here. These may include, not limited to, any projects across the full life cycle of a mine that are rooted in the disciplines of earth science. We're looking for proposals that speak to the efficiency in extracting deposits with lower grades or quality, or that are susceptible to dilution. We're looking for proposals that speak to grade engineering opportunities to improve mill feed, quality in mines and development projects. We're looking for proposals to improve the competitiveness of underground mining of deeply buried deposits. And 5 more to go here. We're looking at co-products, secondary mine revenue streams. We're looking at risk reduction strategies with regard to geologically or metallurgically complex deposits. We're looking for proposals around the stabilization and management of tailings. We're looking for proposals that integrate Indigenous traditional knowledge into understanding impacts of mineral and coal resource development activities. And finally, understandings or new techniques that achieve effective site reclamation. So lots and lots of different ideas that we came up with quite quickly within our advisory committee here at Geoscience BC, and I think that you might have a lot to say about this particular topic as well. And the final RFP is one that's dear to the heart of many people across British Columbia, and that is capturing, preserving, and capitalizing our heritage of geoscience. This is RFP 2018-06, and simply put, BC's world-class earth science data gives us an international competitive advantage. If you have proposals that preserve, grow, and empower the use of the vast collections of publicly available data, reports, information, and physical samples within the province for the benefit of future generations, we would like to consider them. This could include things such as the preservation and curation of significant geological rock suites, core samples, archived government and museum samples, or similarly, collation, preservation, sharing, and visualization of data and other important materials that form reference or historical records and complement efforts of other organizations. We've already had quite a few inquiries with regard to this particular category. I do know that people are excited about making contributions to our world-class earth science data to keep up our international competitive advantage on that matter. All right, so that's a quick look at the 6 RFPs. I'm about 20 minutes into it, so let's have a look at, once the proposals arrive, what are we going to do about it? Geoscience BC, as a publicly funded organization, is really keen on leveraging the money that we get into larger projects. So those proposals with financial or in-kind support from other organizations will be given a priority. We also place a very high value on effective outreach and engagement activities. with the resource sectors, academia, communities, Indigenous groups, and governments. Successful applicants who ultimately will form project agreements with us will be required to participate or lead in similar activities to these as set out in your project agreement. This could include things such as technical conferences, community meetings, publications, all those kind of things that people would expect from a public organization. Looking at some specific evaluation criteria, we're going to look at the technical quality of your proposal. Is it technically sound, feasible, well-defined, with clearly articulated objectives? Does it improve our collective level of geoscience knowledge? Will it stimulate innovation and geoscience technologies? Similarly, does your proposal have sector relevance? Does it demonstrate an application to minerals, coal, energy, or water in BC? And forgive me for including energy in there. That is from our strategic plan. We are just talking about minerals, coal, or water in this particular RFP. Will the proposal attract investment, inform decisions, or support the responsible development of BC's resources? And is the project supported by matching sector funds or partnerships? A couple more points. Personnel. Do the proponents have the experience and qualifications to complete the project? Have previous projects been completed and delivered in a timely manner? And are there any training aspects to the project? I'm going to talk a little bit about that third one. Very important to Geoscience BC that our projects involve some sort of training, whether that might be through having field assistants, whether that be through graduate level studies at a university, hiring from the local communities, anything that provides training opportunities for future resource managers and explorers is considered to be a positive aspect of any proposal. And finally, budget. Is the budget well-defined and competitive? Is it realistic? Has the project generated supportive funding? So those four are the kind of questions that our advisory committee will be asking when they review your particular proposal. Some of the questions we've had so far. And when we do get questions, we may post them to our website so that everyone has the benefit of not only your question, but the answer that we provide. First and foremost, who can apply? Well, we don't put any restrictions on who can apply. Anyone can submit a proposal, long as the work concerns work in British Columbia. What are the maximum funding amounts? We don't set limits on the amount of money that we're going to put into a particular RFP. However, for some guidance, you might refer in section 242 in the RFP document. That'll give you a sense as to the kind of dollar amounts that are typical for things such as scoping level studies, camp scale studies, or regional studies. I think that'll give you a sense as to the kind of dollar amounts that we might be talking about. What if your project is eligible for more than one category? Well, apply for the category that you think is most relevant to yours, and we'll advise you if you think it fits in a better category. You're not going to be eliminated if you apply in one category and it's more relevant to another category. The 6 categories were intended on signaling the styles and the themes of proposals we'd like to see, including one with a geographic constraint. But any proposal that fits in one or more categories is welcomed. Also, we've had a request for the shapefile, the boundary, with regard to RFP 2018-01, and indeed, we have provided that, and it's been added to the RFP page on our website. So that's my about a 25-minute contribution to hopefully a better understanding of the particular 6 RFPs. Again, during this session, appleby at geosciencebc.com, and then after this session, Krista Pellet at geosciencebc.com as our RFP coordinator. So I've got a couple questions here that have come in so far. I'll answer those, and we'll post these questions as well onto the website afterwards. Just one thing here with regard to the second bullet on the Q&A slide that you're seeing right now. Any clarification with regard to this process must be directed to Geoscience BC at least 2 days before the submission of the deadline. This is with regard to more substantial questions about process, so that if we catch an error in process, we can share it and make it fair for everyone who is working towards that deadline. Within that 2-day deadline, we will not guarantee that those responses will be shared for the benefit of everyone else, and that could lead to some misunderstanding. So if you have process questions, get them to us plenty early so that we can clarify it for you and for other potential proponents, potential applicants. So one question I have here is, could you please elaborate on number 5 of the mandatory project deliverables, at least one engagement or meeting activity? So if you've ever worked with Geoscience BC before, you would know that we will ask you, and we'll include a requirement in your project agreement to perhaps attend Roundup and have a poster session there. Could be that we will approach you to make a presentation at a conference such as Roundup, or maybe the KEG, SEG conference, Minerals South. So those are more typical asks that we have of our project proponents. And there are instances as well where it might be relevant or important to have a community meeting as well. We find that we get great support from the communities across BC, as well as we often get great support from Indigenous communities across the province. We may ask you to join us in an engagement meeting or activity with regard to explaining your project, the benefits of it, maybe some of the realities of what the project is going to look like on the ground with the communities that we meet. So it can take a variety of forms, but you can count on us at least asking you to do one for certain, and perhaps even more if it seems appropriate.
Can I jump in there, Bruce?
And Chris is going to add a little bit more as well. 1 second, please.
Yeah, so the nature of the engagement meeting and activity could be up for discussion at the project agreement stage, but be sure to include a budget for your time and participation in the meeting in your budget when developing the project budget.
Yeah. Thank you for Krista. That's an excellent addition. And the second question: if you have a proposal that seems to bridge multiple RFPs, should it be submitted to each or to only one? I would say pick the one that feels right and put it in there. It's not going to be excluded if it seems to be a better fit than another one. So don't submit multiple ones to multiple RFPs. Put one in and take your best guess at which one it fits into. This is one of the problems with designing a more broad set of RFP topics. You could fit into several of them, but only put one in and let us sort it out on this end. We're not going to exclude it if it doesn't fit. And we don't divide up our budget allotments by RFP. It's a single pot of money to serve all 6 RFPs.
I'll jump in there again as well. On the bottom of the first page of the proposal template, you are asked to let us know which RFP you are applying to. So let us know the main RFP, but you can also note in that box if it applies to the other 5 RFPs.
Okay, so this was the first webinar that we've ever tried. We'll call this morning a Murphy's Law effort, and oddly enough, overnight a gremlin snuck into my machine and clicked the box. That meant I was not being heard by anybody. So we found the gremlin and unclicked the box, and glad that you took the opportunity to join us this afternoon. We are going to run another webinar on September 13th, now that we're expert at it. And at that point in time, I think we'll probably have a lot more questions that people might have. I'm expecting that a lot of people are up and enjoying the summer activities right now and staying safe, hydrated, and aware of fire danger out there. So September 13th will be our second webinar. And we will post the questions that we received today online. And also, this is being recorded, so it will be available on our YouTube channel, so that if you get a craving to watch it a second time or see something that you maybe missed the first time, that's okay. You can catch it on our YouTube channel. All right, so I think that we've wrapped it up here. I'm going to call this a technical success. Really glad that you took the time to join us today, and really look forward to receiving your proposals over the course of the next 2 months and a little bit. So I think that October 1st, the deadline will come up quite quickly for many of us. I thank you very much. Have a good day.